Hi there and welcome to another edition of Just a Thought. Matthew chapter 5 verses 14 to 16 are perhaps my favourite text when it comes to the challenge of being a Christian in this day and age. They're words from Jesus specifically, and they're pretty cool. You probably know them very well, but I'd like to share them with you again today. I'm going to read from the New Living Translation of the Bible. Matthew chapter 5 verses 14 to 16. You are the light of the world. Like a city on a hilltop that cannot be hidden. No one lights a lamp and puts it under a basket. Instead, a lamp is placed on a stand where it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your good deeds shine out for all to see, so that everyone will praise your heavenly Father. You are the light of the world. I really like that concept. And what Jesus is saying is that we as Christians have a privilege to be a shining light, a beacon in our society, in our world, a shining light that points directly back to God. And Jesus links that shining to what we do, how we live, how we act, and how we interact with other people. So my just a thought for you today is I'm going to ask you to imagine what we could do on two aspects. The first one, imagine if every Christian in a church of say 100 would just dedicate 1 hour per week to Christian service. Now, I don't mean the church service. I don't mean doing things at your church. I mean doing things in the community. Literally shining your light in the community, either working at a soup kitchen or at an op shop or at our amazing facility here in Tauranga called Pregnancy Choice. Those kinds of service projects, maybe going and cutting a person's lawn who can't do it, they're incapacitated, or maybe cleaning the gutters, or doing any kind of service for no other reason than it's the right thing to do. That's all we're doing. That's all we're asking. 1 hour a week for every person in a church of, say, 100 people. I choose 100 because it's easy to do the math, okay? But I'll check on it just in case I get it wrong. So that's 1 hour per 100 members per week. So that's 100 hours of community service a week. That's equivalent to 2.5 full-time paid employees doing something in the community on behalf of God. Imagine that. That's 400 hours a month, give or take, depending on which month it is. I know some months are longer than the other. But that's 400 hours of community service, of meeting the needs of those in our community for no other reason than it's a good thing to do. And it's a whopping 5,200 hours of service per year, just from a church of 100 members. Imagine the impact you could have on your community, on your neighborhood, if every Christian mobilized just for 1 hour. That's nothing. That's one TV show per week that you would sacrifice if you're a TV watcher. That's nothing of your time. We have a lot of hours in the week that we can use. And imagine what would happen if we just chose to use one for the benefit of others and for the glory of God. Okay, so that's our first thing. Just 1 hour per week. Oh, incidentally, do you know how many Christians there are, or professed Christians there are in New Zealand, in our amazing country of Aotearoa? According to statistics, there's 1.8 million. About 47% of our country profess to be Christians. Now we might say, well, man, that's actually quite low. That's less than half of our country are Christians. But I want to flip that today and say, hey, this is an opportunity. Imagine if 1.8 million Kiwi Christians mobilized and gave 1 hour per week for their God and for their community. 1.8 million hours of community service. And just imagine the impact that would have on our country. I believe that if we truly as Christians did that, rather than just looking after ourselves, let's be honest, most churches, including my own, spend most of our time and expenses on caring for our own members, on caring for our own buildings even. Imagine if we said, you know what, we're going to shine for Jesus and we're going to mobilize 1.8 million hours of community service. We wouldn't need all the services that we have today if Christians mobilized for the right reasons. Bit of a challenge, hey? Well, the next one is monetary. Now, this is probably a tough one because I know many people are struggling at this time because of COVID-19. But I want you to imagine again, I desperately want you to imagine again, what would happen if a church of 100 people said, you know what, we're going to give $5 a week to help people in need. $5 a week, we're going to put that aside, we're going to give that faithfully every week into an account where we can just use it for meeting our community's needs. That's a pretty impressive thing. That's $500 right there that you can use to help people in your community. Not to be used on curtains or any electricity bills or anything in your church, but actually to meet the needs of your community. $500 per week. And then that would be $2,000 per month, give or take again, like I say, depending on the length of the month. $2,000 that you could use to help those in need in our community. And a whopping $26,000 per year. Now, to give you a bit of an idea for my church in Tauranga, that would mean that we could, per week, if we wanted to do this, $5 a week per person for 100 members. And we've got more than 100 members, but that means that would enable us to give a $50 voucher to 10 families each week to help get them through this tough time of COVID-19 and just top up what it costs them to live each week. 10 families could get an extra $50 in their hand to help them with their grocery bill, just if we gave $5 each. Put it in another way, it would be $26,000 per year. As we mentioned, that would enable us to sponsor, get this church, sponsor 38 students to our school. We could enable 38 students to get a quality Christian education if we gave $5 per week per 100 members. Isn't that amazing? That's pretty incredible. And I think we're missing an opportunity here. I think we haven't fully grasped Jesus' command to be the light of the world. What we have done as churches, as Christians in our country and around the world, to be fair, is pretty much put a basket over our light. That's what we've done. And it's a bit shameful, to be honest. You know, we can debate in church board meetings and business meetings about whether we need a new sound system or a new video system or new chairs or curtains or whatever it might be, and we don't even blink at signing off on the cost of those things. But to reach out and to help our community, people who are desperately in need. We have people in our own city here living under bridges, people. We have people who are desperately in need of food and basic amenities, who can't afford to pay their rent. We have people who are struggling in abusive relationships. Imagine if we could fund safe homes and places for them to go. Imagine if we could take some of that financial burden off their shoulders by simply just giving $5 per week per member. That's nothing. That's a couple of chocolate bars when you go to get your fuel. That's pretty much a decent coffee and muffin. It might be a cheap coffee and muffin. People are going to say you don't get out much, Andrew, but that's true. It's just a hot chocolate. It's just a coffee. It's nothing. And you don't even blink at that. But imagine the impact it would do when we mobilize as a church and give $5 a week corporately. It makes a difference. Now, we talked about 1 hour a week for 1.8 million Christians. Imagine if every Christian in New Zealand gave $5 corporately. That's a lot of money. Let me just give it to you. That's $9 million a week that would be unleashed on our community to provide the essential needs for people. That's per week. I'm telling you, 9 million per week. 1.8 million Christians giving $5 a week. Imagine per year. It's a whopping $468 million. I might need to check the math. But that's whopping. That's astounding. What that tells me is that Christians aren't doing what they're called to do. And so today, I'm not just getting you to think, I'm asking you to act. Get together in your churches. I'm asking my church here, the Tauranga Seventh-day Adventist Church, we're going to be launching a $5 fund in our church as of today. As of today, we're relaunching our $5 fund. And I'm asking our church members to prayerfully consider giving what you can. If you can't give $5, give $1, give $2, whatever it is. If you can give more, that's fantastic. But I'm asking you to give just $5 per week. Commit to it. Put in an automatic payment into our bank account and label it as $5 fund. And I guarantee you that that money will be used to better our community. We won't use it on church expenses. We won't use it on anything else other than helping our community people, those outside of our church who are in desperate need. And furthermore, you as church members will have the right to submit requests for that funding to go to people you know, your neighbors, so that you can shine for Jesus in your community. If you want to know more about the $5 fund, then I invite you to give me a call, send me an email, flick me a text. If you're part of our church family, our church whānau, then I would encourage you to contact our church treasurer and ask her how you can set up a payment for your $5 fund. This is above and beyond everything else we might give. It's a super easy thing to do to become the light of the world that Jesus has called us to be. One last thought. It's been said by mathematicians that if every Christian family in the world would adopt one child, there would no longer be a need for orphanages. So my challenge is not just to my local church today. My challenge is to every person who calls themselves a Christian. Stand up and be counted. Mobilize. Pull yourselves together and get out there and shine for Jesus Christ. He has given us all for us. We can give something back to him and for his glory. May God bless you today. May you take care and may you shine for Jesus.